Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any video lesson from Rouse IAS Study Circle. Now, this article written in the context of the recently cancelled 2019 agreement between India and Japan and Sri Lanka that aimed to jointly develop the strategic East Container Terminal at Colombo in Sri Lanka. Now, India, along with Japan, was trying to develop this strategic East Container Terminal in Colombo in order to counter the increasing presence of China in the Indian Ocean region and especially in Sri Lanka with its development of the Hambantota port. However, this agreement for the development of East Container Terminal has now been cancelled by Sri Lanka. And accordingly, a lot of discussion is going on about the India-Sri Lanka ties in the backdrop of the cancellation of this agreement. Now, in this regard, India had unilaterally cancelled or terminated the India-Sri Lanka Bilateral Investment Treaty, which secures the foreign investments into a country. And accordingly, the Indian investors cannot take recourse to the legal aspects that were finalized under the Bilateral Investment Treaty because this agreement for the development of the East Container Terminal was finalized in the year 2019. And in this context, it becomes important for us to understand what is the Bilateral Investment Treaty, what are its key aspects, and why did India cancel these bilateral investment treaties unilaterally. And also, we will look at some of the aspects of the new model bilateral investment treaty that has been floated by Government of India and some of the concerns regarding this BIT. And the points that we discuss here can be important for us from the General Studies Paper 3 point of view in the topic Economy, and also some of the points can be used in answering the questions in General Studies Paper 2 in the topic International Relations. So the first question that comes into our mind is, what is Bilateral Investment Treaty? So simply, these treaties are agreements that are signed between two countries for reciprocal promotion and protection of the investments in each other's territories by individuals and companies situated in either state. So, for example, if the Indian investors are investing in Sri Lanka, their investments will be protected under this bilateral investment treaty if India has a BIT with Sri Lanka. Now, what happens is that such bilateral investment treaties encourage foreign investors to invest in a state, and as such, it contributes towards overall development and advancement of its economy. Now, some of the important features of a bilateral investment treaty include fair and equitable treatment, full protection and security, national treatment, MFN, expropriation, repatriation of investment returns, and investor-state dispute resolution. Now, in this regard, the fair and equitable treatment mandates the states to have a stable and predictable legal framework. And also, it should have a predictable legal framework for regulating investments which meets the reasonable expectations of the investors. Second clause of full protection and security mandates the states to provide full protection and safety to the foreign investments. Thirdly, under the national treatment, the foreign investors should be treated at par with the domestic investors. And as far as the most favored nation treatment is concerned, concessions that are extended to foreign investors of a particular country would be extended to foreign investors of other countries. That is, there will be no discrimination between investors from different countries. Further, under the expropriation or taking over of property, it bars the states or the countries from expropriating or taking over the property of the foreign investments except under the exceptional circumstances. That is, the states cannot unilaterally take over the property of investments by the foreign investors. Further, the repatriation of investments and returns mandates that the states should provide unrestricted power to the foreign investors to repatriate their investments and returns. That is, they can send back the interests or the profits that they earn by their investments to the home country. And finally, there is the clause of Investor State Dispute Resolution or the ISDS. And under this, the foreign investors can directly initiate arbitration proceedings against a state without even approaching its own government. That is, they can initiate the arbitration proceedings on their own. And in order to handle such a dispute, an ad hoc tribunal may be set up in accordance with the arbitration rules of the UN Commission on the International Trade Law. However, back in 2016, the Indian government decided to unilaterally terminate the bilateral investment treaties with more than 60 countries. And it was under this decision of the government of India that India had cancelled the bilateral investment treaty with Sri Lanka also. Now, the reasons that were cited by the government of India for the termination of the bilateral investment treaties were that these bilateral investment treaties that were signed by India gave extensive protection to the foreign investment with minimum regards for the state's interest based on the neoliberal model. That is, based on such bilateral investment treaties, foreign investments into India were being given more protection and the interest of India itself was not being taken care of. Now, for example, a number of foreign corporations had slapped the ISDS or the Investor State Dispute Resolution notices against India, challenging a wide array of regulatory measures such as imposition of retrospective laws, cancellation of spectrum licenses, and revocation of telecom licenses. And one of the biggest example of imposition of retrospective taxes was the Vodafone case. And these ISDS or the Investor State Dispute Resolution cases against India led to a fundamental rethinking in the Indian government and reviewing of such bilateral investment treaties in India. And this led to the adoption of Model Bilateral Investment Treaty back in 2016. So, in this regard, let us look at the key provisions of the Model BIT and how it aims at countering the issues with the existing bilateral investment treaties. Now, under the Model Bilateral Investment Treaty that was floated by the Government of India in 2016, the new definition that has been adopted by this Model BIT is enterprise-based definition of investment. And under this, the asset-based definition of investment under the earlier BITs has now been replaced by this new enterprise-based definition under the Model BIT. Now, this asset-based definition considers every kind of assets, both movable and immovable assets, including the intellectual property rights as investments, and gives them protection under the treaties. However, by moving away from such an asset-based approach to an enterprise-based approach, India aims at narrowing the scope of investments to be protected and thus seeks to reduce the number of BIT claims that can be brought against India, as was the case in the famous Vodafone case. Second important clause of the Model BIT is the exclusion of most favored nation treatment. And in recent years, some foreign investors had sued India, arguing that they have to get the same beneficial treatment given to the companies from other countries. And accordingly, India dropped this MFN clause, which led to a lot of arbitration notices being issued against India based on the past or the previous BITs. Third interesting aspect of the BIT is the conditions for initiating arbitrations at the international arbitrations. Now, in this regard, the new Models BIT stipulates that an aggrieved investor should first use all the local remedies as well as negotiations and consultations before initiating arbitrations against the host state. And investors can use outside remedies only 5 years after resorting to all domestic arrangements. So, a clear process has been laid down by the Model BIT as far as the issue of international arbitrations of the foreign investments is concerned. And finally, the Model BIT lays down the rule of corporate social responsibility. That is, it mandates the foreign investors to voluntarily adopt internationally recognized standards of corporate social responsibility. Now, the concern that is being raised with respect to such Model BITs is that the unilateral termination of the bilateral investment treaties by India has led to decrease in FDI inflows into India. And apart from that, such treaties work on reciprocal basis as we have learned initially, and accordingly the Indian investors in other countries do not have the option of suing the foreign governments, and that is exactly the point that has been argued by the author in this particular article regarding the interest of the Indian investors in the Sri Lanka regarding the agreement related to the development of East Container Terminal. So let us look at the points that have been highlighted by the author regarding the interest that was shown by the Indian investors in the development of the East Container Terminal under the agreement. So as we all know that recently Sri Lanka cancelled this 2019 agreement with India and Japan that aimed to jointly develop the strategic East Container Terminal at Colombo. Now the author argues that although actual investments were not done by the Indian investors in Sri Lanka, however they had made up their mind for their investments. So in this regard, the author says that an important component of the fair and equitable treatment provision is that the host state should protect the legitimate expectations of the foreign investors. And in a previous arbitration case, it was held that the concept of legitimate expectations, which has been provided under the Fair and Equitable Treatment Clause, relates to a situation where the host state's conduct creates reasonable and justifiable expectations. And Sri Lanka, by signing the agreement with India and Japan to jointly develop the East Container Terminal at Colombo, had created such expectations on the part of Indian investors. And defaulting on this agreement without specific and reasonable justification potentially violates the Indian investors' legitimate expectations and also the fair and equitable treatment provision of the bilateral investment treaty. However, issue here is that India had unilaterally terminated the India-Sri Lanka BIT on March 22, 2017 in pursuance of its policy of 2016. And this termination was a part of the termination of other BITs that India undertook in 2017 as a result of several ISDS claims that were being brought against India. Now, although India has unilaterally cancelled the bilateral investment clause, there is a survival clause. And under the Article 15.2 of the India-Sri Lanka BIT, it contains a clause, and according to which, in case of a unilateral termination of the treaty shall still continue to be effective for a further period of 15 years from the date of its termination in respect of all those investments made or acquired before the date of termination. That is, all the investments that were done before 22nd March 2017, that is the date of cancellation of the bilateral investment treaty, will enjoy or will continue to enjoy treaty protection. That is, will continue to enjoy protection under the bilateral investment treaty. However, in the case of investment in developing the East Container Terminal, this survival clause will not be applicable because this agreement was signed in 2019 after the India had cancelled the bilateral investment treaty. And as such, the Indian investors will not be able to sue the Sri Lankan government before an ISDS or the Dispute Settlement Tribunal, even though they could have easily sued the Sri Lankan government under the bilateral investment treaty that existed between India and Sri Lanka previously. So in this regard, the author says that India needs to understand that the bilateral investment treaties do not empower merely the foreign investors to sue India, but it also authorizes Indian investors to make the use of bilateral investment treaties to safeguard their investments in turbulent foreign markets, as has been highlighted in the case of cancellation of the agreement of East Container Terminal development. And as India is now emerging as an exporter and not just an importer of capital, the government should revisit its stand on the bilateral investment treaties, which will help the future investments by the Indians in other foreign countries. So these are a few important points that have been highlighted by this article, and we have also learned about some of the issues related to bilateral investment treaties in this regard.